Morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. We are out here this morning in what could be called sporty conditions.
Lake Ontario waves.
Yeah. We had... I've never taken one over the side of the boat while drifting, and we did today. Scott was in the middle of having a sip of coffee and jumped because he's like, I'm going to get a wet ass. And that wave came over the top. So we were headed out to a different spot this morning. Same pattern as normal. We got underneath the Route 11 bridge, and I said, oh, this isn't going to be good. You start feeling that groundswell in the river. And we poked out the front door, and it wasn't terrible. And we got to about 135, and it was twos and threes the whole time, and then there were big sets of fours and fives.
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 of them at a time.
Yeah, and we were like, well, finally, I got about halfway to where we were going. I said, we're getting the snot beat out of us. So we just stopped, and we're like, well, we'll drift here and give it a shot. And I'm going to tell you exactly where we were. We were right off the beach. We were right off the beach on the south shore, just outside the weed line. Scott's first cast started off with a smallmouth.
Yeah, nice one.
And it was game on from there. Now, I'm going to tell everybody something. So I showed Scott that the morning that today's forecast, according to the solar lunar calendar app deal that I use, said 15% pour, and it had a little spike in the dark, and then the rest of today is flat. And if you were going by that, you probably wouldn't have fished. And we got out here in this heavy wind, and it was all I could do not to just turn around and go back in the river and catch small fish and just dick around, because I didn't think it was going to be worth it. And we stopped just where we were. Where I gave up driving, I said, well, let's try it here. We had ourselves a pretty good day.
A really good day, actually.
I mean, yeah, I shouldn't say that. We had
up to the last hour when we started catching nothing but perch, but I mean the walleye and the bass were, and pickerel. We had a lot of big pickerel too, but they were cooperating.
I mean, if we think about the numbers, we had to be close to 10 smallmouth between the two of us, and we probably had to be close to 10 walleyes between the two of us.
Yep, but we had four keepers out of that.
Yep. And 2 pickerel. I had a monster pickerel. It was like 26 inches. And then a whole string of perch and even a pumpkin seed.
Pumpkin seed, yeah, 1 pumpkin seed.
And everything predominantly was on blades today, for the most part. Scott had a rot jaw, like a yellow gold blade. The body of it was that kind of yellowy gold color, and it had the same matching yellow gold sparkle tape on it. It was on fire
all day.
It was on fire. I mean, at one point you switched and you gave me it, and I caught 2 fish on it right away.
Yep. Everything liked it though.
Everything. Those I've never seen that many smallmouth caught on blades at once. I mean, you had 4 smallies that first drift.
Yeah.
It really was on fire.
First 2 casts.
Yeah. And I started cycling through all of my blades, and I couldn't get them to run right, and this wind was howling. I mean, I don't know, 20, all of 20. All of 20, gusting to 25 plus.
Yep.
I had 3 bags out to get our speed down, our drift speed down, and we got it down to manageable. It was 50, it was 0.5, 6, 0.5, 0.6. So the drift was good. But like I say, I started cycling through my traditional colors. I couldn't get him to eat it. Now I will say something else that you told me after the fact. You were running that rot jaw blade in the front hole of the 3.
Yeah.
Typically, I always run my I1s and all my blades in the middle. I don't know if that. It's hard to say. I don't know if that had something to do with it or not, but it changes the action, and it changes how that blade works.
And also, you don't get that tangle, that wrap. A friend of mine told me about it. He says, you gotta run mine in the front hole. and this is why, and it's the truth. You might have to pull a little bit harder to get that wobble you want
to get it started. Yep.
But once you got it started, it's fine.
So I guess moral of the story is, we came out and it's the first time Scott's fished with me, and we come out into this heavy weather, and I was bummed out. I was pissed off. I'm like, come on, this is silly. And we had a great day. We turned lemons into lemonade.
We molded a lot of fish.
Yeah, and we had one spot where the wind died, and we thought, oh, here we go. All it did was just switch a little farther south, and it's really a true southeast right now, because we're now being blown quartering across the channel, as before we were going pretty much right down that outer weed line, and we were in, our best was 16 to 17 feet on the outside, on the north side of that southern weed line, and like we say, everything was in there, and they were all eating, because we had 5 species this morning. We had 1, 2, 3.
2 drifts. We had 5.
Yeah.
5 different species.
Yep. And it slacked off. The best was first thing this morning. Those first 2 drifts, if we could have kept repeating them, it would have really been a stellar day.
It was hard going back into the waves. I mean, this lake, when you get in the waves like that, your boat can't span 2. You're hitting every wave, and we had some legitimate 5-footers.
We had some that we fell off the other side of. I mean, we were going back up into them to get back up onto another drift, and I'm going 5 miles an hour into them, and we had a couple, and my boat's a 23-foot boat, fiberglass. It's a big, heavy boat, and we went like this, and the bottom, there was no bottom, and it went all the way down. Like, we were like, whoa, boom! And we're like, Jesus, and so I started trying to take him a little more of on a quarter angle in and out, but it was gnarly. Like, it was gnarly. And my first thought, I said to Scott this morning, is I feel bad for, in this situation on a day like today, every weather station I watched, every weather app I had said 3 to 5, light and variable, south-southeast.
No.
It was northeast when we came out.
Oh yeah.
Howling northeast. And it went east and then southeast, and every time it lulled a little bit, and then it picked right back up. And for the guys that work all week and don't have a chance to get out Monday through Friday and look forward to Saturday morning, it always bums me out when Saturday mornings don't turn out. Now, if you were trailering, I hope everybody went to the east end. We've seen a handful of boats on the west end, and it must have been a challenge. We watched guys in the dark launching out of Oneida shores with no docks. That must have been a challenge, because that wind must have been blowing right into there.
Yep, it was early. Not now, it's not coming across, but early this morning it was right into there.
Yeah. So we've told you about the wind. I got 55.5 surface temp on top. We did all of our fish in that, and let's just say that 14 to 17 foot of water on the outside edge of the weed line. We did almost everything on blades. I caught a couple fish on, I don't even know what it's called, that Rapala. I don't even know what it's called. It's a Rapala lipless crankbait. I forget what it's called. And I was jigging that off the bottom. I caught a bunch of perch on a shiver minnow, but nothing else seemed to be, nothing that we were really looking for seemed to be interested in it. We cycled through a whole bunch of colors. That I-1 bait you were throwing, that I-1 blade bait in that Mountain Dew color was good for you. You caught a bunch of fish on that. Yep. Same thing with the magic marker on it, because that one you were throwing is just that pure Mountain Dew color.
Pure Mountain Dew, and I couldn't touch a fish, and I put stripes on it, and you can't keep them off it.
Yep, black stripes, little orange belly, and they were on it right off the bat. So blades were definitely the key today, or anything with a vibration. That Rapala it drives me nuts. I can't remember. I think it's called a rip and wrap. Yeah, the number 7 rip and wrap. And I caught fish on this color, and also what I think is a little bit more of a shad color, and magic marker spots on it, and you can hear it. And they seem to like that, but not hot and heavy, and not nearly as good as they like that rot jaw and Mountain Dew blade. Not even close. Like those two were on fire. So a lot of lessons to be learned here today. Big east wind doesn't mean the fish don't like it. It usually just means we don't like it. These solar lunar table deals, I'm sure, have a lot of validity. Today it was wrong, pure wrong. It said 15% and poor. It wasn't. This was an excellent day. To catch that many fish on a perfect condition day is good. To do it when it's gnarly and we didn't even
Well, we both started out going, let's just do this drift and see what happens. And I mean, the first 3 casts are fish. It's like it's a drift.
Yeah, and we didn't go to a spot. We just
Stopped.
Where I pulled the throttle back and said, I'm all done. I've had enough. That's where we started. And who knows what would have happened had we been able to get to different spots that we really wanted to. But those fish were feeding down here. And there again, it makes sense. This is now the windward end of the lake. And so everything is getting pushed down here, and it funnels in this west end. It comes in just like this, and there's that bowl like this in between the weed lines, gets flatter and flatter and flatter like this, and they seem to be down in here chewing. I did throw a swim bait for quite a while this morning, and I didn't get bit on it. One of the smallmouth I caught, just as he started coming up, I see 3 more behind him. So I'm like, wow, they're in here chasing. That means they're hunting in packs, and I thought a swim bait would be the ticket. And I never took a bump out of swim bait. And I really thought horizontal was going to be just as good as vertical, and it turned out it wasn't. But you cycle through that stuff and you figure things out in your day.
Well, a lot of fish came on that last couple jerks you do right at the boat. The walleye all came that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So maybe they were off enough to where they were following it. My smallmouth came right here close,
Yep.
and that big pickerel came right close too. So maybe that was the lesson. They were following it, and just when it finally makes that last jig, which is why you've always really finish your cast at the boat at least once or twice, because it's been doing this, so it's been doing this all along. And then all of a sudden it goes straight up and down, and they're just like, wow, something's different. Yeah, and they grab it. So that's our day. And it was an awesome day. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for taking me.
It was a lot of fun fishing together today, and we'll do it again. And I'll see everybody out there tomorrow morning. You ready for tip up? We'll do it on 3.
Right.
1, 2, 3. Keep your tip up.